On behalf of the Tibetan Buddhist Society, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all joining our 2021 Buddhist Spring Festival online. My name is Martin Horan. I'm a member of our Tibetan Buddhist Society community here in Melbourne. We acknowledge that our Melbourne Centre stands on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, which includes the Bunun Balak clan as the traditional custodians. We pay respect to the family members of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung and to their elders past, present and future. The theme of our 2021 Spring Festival is caring for self and caring for others. During the last 2 years, every human being has been affected one way or another by the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the few positive outcomes of this very difficult time has been the amount of caring that so many human beings have shown for other human beings. As a community, we've become much more aware and mindful of the wonderful kindness and courage of our health workers, the way they support us day in and day out, and have always done so, has pretty much happened behind the scenes. Now it's much more visible. We're much more aware of how much we depend on their commitment, on their perseverance, and their strength. Caring for self and caring for others are like two sides of the same coin. His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet is one of humanity's most passionate advocates of compassion. His Holiness has said that caring for others requires caring for oneself. Caring for oneself includes finding more quiet time, more space, and more peace in our lives. Not so much for its own sake. It's more that when we settle into quieter, more relaxed, and more reflective states of mind, we create the space for our natural good heart, our compassion, and our kindness to shine through. Those best parts of who we are become a stronger influence in our lives, and that flows through to the way we relate to each other day by day, the way we think about each other, the way we converse with each other, the way we act towards each other. The Tibetan Buddhist Society's founder and spiritual head, Venerable Geshe Acharya Trungten Lodin, said many times that the essence of all great religions and philosophies, including Buddhism, is compassion. The best quality of human beings is their caring attitude for others. It's such an important and precious quality that it's worth taking the time to cultivate it, to find the space and the peace that will let it flourish. Caring for self and caring for others are inseparable. We're very lucky to have a number of wonderful speakers here today, and we thank them for their kindness in taking the time to join our festival and to pass on the benefit of their own thoughts, insights and experience. Our first speaker is Professor Christine Kilpatrick, Chief Executive of the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Professor Kilpatrick acted as the Chief Executive of the Royal Children's Hospital up until 2017, and before that held Executive Director roles with Melbourne Health and with the Royal Melbourne Hospital up until 2008. Among many awards and honours, Professor Kilpatrick was inducted in the top 50 public sector women in 2018, and in 2019 she was appointed an officer of the Order of Australia. Our second speaker is Councillor Karen Sherry of the Hume City Council. Karen Sherry has been a councillor with Hume since 2016 and was re-elected in 2020. Karen was drawn to council because of her work in the homelessness and community housing sectors. She's travelled in India extensively and worked in an NGO in New Delhi. And she's studied yoga and visited and stayed in ashrams at various times in her life. Our final speaker is the very Venerable Kwang Sunim. Venerable Kwang Sunim has more than 40 years in robes and is an elder monastic in Australia. She traditionally trained many years in Korea in Seon or Zen, in Sutra and Zen arts. When she returned to Australia in 1998, she founded the Seon Centre and developed it as a forest retreat in Kinglake. Her teaching, interfaith, various committee and other community engagements, although they've been online as most of her activities have been, remain interconnecting and relevant to the community. And our session today will conclude with some traditional prayers, and these will be led by Rosie McHugh, who is one of the directors of the Tibetan Buddhist Society in Melbourne and a long-time student of Venerable Geshe. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Christine Kilpatrick and I'm the Chief Executive of Melbourne Hospital. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are situated and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you to the Tibetan Buddhist Society for the opportunity to speak to you today. It is unfortunate that we are unable to meet in person, but one thing that COVID has taught us is that we are adaptable and resilient, and technology has enabled us to continue connecting, albeit virtually. Before I touch on your theme for today's annual festival, caring for self, caring for others, which I must say is extremely relevant for the time we currently find ourselves in, I thought I'd briefly tell you about the organisation, the Royal Melbourne Hospital. The Royal Melbourne Hospital began in 1848, over 170 years ago, as Victoria's first public hospital, located on Lonsdale Street, where the current Queen Victoria Women's Centre is, and it was known then as the Melbourne Hospital. We started with just 10 beds in a small cottage on the corner of Swanson and Lonsdale Street, treating 89 inpatients in its first year. Over the years, we expanded on the site, but eventually, due to increased demand, which is a consistent theme in healthcare over the decades, we moved to our current location on Grattan Street in 1945. Today, the Royal Melbourne Hospital is one of the largest health providers in this state, providing a comprehensive range of specialist medical, surgical and mental health services. We're a designated statewide provider for services including trauma, and relevant to current times, we run the state service of the Victorian Infectious Diseases Service. We are also proudly a joint partner of the Doherty Institute with the University of Melbourne, an institute that has led our nation's response to the COVID pandemic, ensuring we are as prepared as we could possibly be and responded as best we could to this once-in-a-lifetime event. For me, the Royal Melbourne Hospital is where I trained as a neurologist many years ago and where I now proudly represent the organisation as their Chief Executive, returning in 2017 after serving 9 years as the Chief Executive at the Royal Children's Hospital. When reflecting on today's theme of caring for self and caring for others, I found myself thinking about the concept of care and how it is given. It comes in many different forms and it applies to everyone and everything. And I know that as an organisation, we are all about providing care to the community, and in turn, we care for our people, providing that care through initiatives that are designated to look after their well-being, whether it is free coffee on a Thursday afternoon or a 24-hour peer support service, to a mobile app that provides insights about how to take care of yourself during periods of high demand and stress. Yes, care is intrinsic to healthcare, but it is also vital to our daily well-being. And for me, over the last 2 years during a global pandemic, I have seen care displayed in abundance in a time when uncertainty and fear could dominate. On the 1st of July 2020, 1 week before the Victorian second wave of COVID outbreak started, we launched our new strategic plan, new purpose, new values and our new logo, the whole corporate suite, We could see the situation in the community gradually changing, but we knew it was important to continue with our launch. And on reflection, it was the right decision. Our new values of people first, leading with kindness and excellence together, designed and led by our people, became the cornerstone of how we approached everything during this time, and I must say, still continues to serve us well to this day. There is no doubt the COVID pandemic has challenged us like never before. We are known to be great in a crisis, but little did we know how long this crisis would last and how delivering care would take us beyond the walls of our hospital. On the 4th of July 2020, when the Flemington and North Melbourne public housing towers were put in lockdown, our people were there, working together with residents, other health services and agencies. We provided COVID testing, education and support on infection control, and mental health outreach services to the residents of the towers. One of my favourite stories to tell of this time is about Kate, one of our senior nurses at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, who coordinated the nursing team to test and support the residents. Kate is one of those people who would want to be with you if you're stuck on a desert island. She is resourceful, brave, and has a wonderful sense of humour. During one of these long days, the lift in one of the multi-storey high-rise towers broke, and the team were working with trolleys full of testing equipment and travelling up and down the 21 floors. Without the lift working, ensuring we could continue the vital work of testing and supporting the residents was near impossible. Kate, in her wisdom, found a backpack, stacked it full of testing swabs, tubes, plastic bags, and proceeded to take the staircase on foot. There are so many stories like Kate's, but for me, what they continue to show is that our care has no boundaries, and for Kate, the duty of care was to look after those in need. On the 8th of July, we found ourselves once again working beyond our front door. As the pandemic spread through residential aged care facilities, our people responded, supporting these facilities to reduce infection, hospital admission, and ultimately to create safe environments for healthcare workers and their residents. Despite working in unfamiliar environments and complex situations, our people met these challenges with compassion and commitment to provide exceptional care. So who cares for the caregivers in a time when we couldn't hug our friends and families, sit down with friends and chat over a coffee? Virtual catch-ups proved to be novel at the start, but eventually proved difficult. Our story of focusing on providing care and compassion to each other started in 2015, when the organisation introduced a new program called the Royal Melbourne Hospital Safety Culture Program. The Safety Culture Program is all about supporting our people, our staff, to speak up when things don't seem right, including unsafe and disrespectful behaviours, breaking down the traditional hospital hierarchy. We know that by providing a safe and workplace culture, the care we provide to our patients and consumers is also safe. As the Safety Culture Program has grown, so has our understanding of the importance of having programs and measures in place to better look after our people. The pandemic has shown us that it has never been more important to check in on one another and ask if they are okay. We know that ensuring we take care of our emotional and well-being needs is important, not just for our healthy mind, but a healthy body. It is anticipated that as we emerge from lockdown, the demand for mental health and psychological support will increase significantly. This is not a failing of the system or the person, but as a consequence of external factors and is inevitable following the mental stresses placed upon the population over the past 2 years. For our hospital staff, the lockdowns and the requirements of working in full PPE every day and treating very sick patients who at times are unable to see their family takes its toll. To assist, we have a number of programs in place, such as the Staff Support and Wellbeing Program, Peer Support Services, and an Employee Assistance Program. We were also very fortunate to have one of our doctors develop a creative solution that was aimed at healthcare workers' wellbeing and designed in a way that they could relate to. Royal Melbourne Hive is one of a kind app that provides stories from Royal Melbourne Hospital staff about how they look after their own wellbeing, as well as using humour to explain wellbeing and mindfulness strategies. We also regularly provide our people with free coffees, chocolates, and pre-COVID times, regular barbecues, and a sit-down lunch for Christmas. We have also been recipients of wonderful kindness from our community. The level of support and love directed to those in the healthcare industry during the pandemic has been extraordinary and something I have never seen before. For the past 2 years, we have received notes of thanks from around Australia, pictures from school children, donations of food, flowers, and skincare products, all a small but welcome token of appreciation for the work our staff were doing. Our people were as grateful and certainly put a smile on their face, albeit behind a mask, to know that they were so greatly appreciated. It is stories like this that happen every day that make me so very proud to work at such a great organisation, where our community promise is always there when it matters most. Thank you for listening to me today, and I wish you and your family all the very best of health, and I hope you have a great Spring Festival.
G'day. I'm Councillor Karen Sherry of Hume City Council, and I thank Christine and the organisers of this festival for inviting me to speak today. Before I continue, I'd like to acknowledge that Hume City Council recognises the rich Aboriginal heritage within the municipality and acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung, which includes the Gunn and Willem-Bullock clan, as the traditional custodians of this land. Council embraces Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander living cultures as a vital part of Australia's identity and recognises, celebrates and pays respect to the existing family members of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and to elders past, present and future. This year's festival theme is particularly relevant to us now, that of caring for self, caring for others. Many of us, particularly women, are taught from an early age that caring for other people means putting their needs first, to be selfless, that it is okay to wear ourselves out for the benefit of family and loved ones. The introduction of ancient Eastern mystical practices into Western culture, once the domain of aesthetics only, has given many of us a pathway to look after ourselves so that we can be better people and look after the real needs of others in the right way at the right time. Now, yoga, meditation and contemplation are pursued by millions of people around the globe as an oasis in their busy lives, regardless of their religious or spiritual affiliations. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown us now, more than ever, our carers, health professionals, parents, grandparents, other family members, friends and volunteers need support in caring for others. And that's why I'm glad that your society, the Tibetan Buddhist Society, Peaceful Land of Joy Meditation Centre, has become part of the fabric of Hume, part of the fabric of our community, and that your organisation has contributed greatly to the Hume Interfaith Network. Thank you for being here and to lend support to us, as Hume has been at the coalface of the pandemic. Your wonderful venue, your provision of meditation sessions, lectures on Buddhist philosophy, books, and other educational tools, has provided a wonderful resource in which our community can bathe and replenish itself. Hume is a place of many diverse faiths, but they're not mutually exclusive. I know that as we emerge from the lockdown, I know that many more of us will reach out to you if they haven't already. Thank you once again for the opportunity to participate in your festival, and I look forward to visiting your centre at Euroke soon.
Good morning. And thank you for inviting me to share a few words at this year's Tibetan Buddhist Society Spring Festival online. May I invite you into my library and to share words on this year's theme, caring for self and caring for others. The Buddha, when teaching the practice of loving kindness, suggested we always offer this loving kindness first to ourselves. May I be well, may I be safe without fear, and may I be happy. Not for self-cherishing, but he recognized for a human to awaken, they must nourish and cultivate a wholesome, caring and compassionate heart first. All Buddhist traditions have practices to work on developing loving kindness and compassion in their lives. In 2020, I offered many months of meditation to caregivers who were overwhelmed as the pandemic took off. Many had burnout from stress and overload of extra work. However, some even seemed to have an excessive empathy, oversensing and feeling were factors infecting their ability to function properly in their personal and professional lives. And meditation seemed to help all those who stayed with the program. Many of you listening in some ways have also been challenged this last couple of years, whether you're out there in the front line of caregiving or at home juggling office, work and children's education, or elders in the home and their needs. Often people lived in very restricting spaces while adapting to the rules of COVID lockdown. There were greater stresses in losing work, living alone, single parenting, working in empty offices and caring for elderly or disabled and disturbing family members. Even trying to reach out to friends and colleagues at times became a chore. I too noticed family and friends who once called regularly stopped during this last year as their personal and inner needs grew. So I took to calling those I knew who may need to chat and to share some presence of mind, if little more. Still, healthcare services carried much of the extra burden, as we all know, and regulations changed frequently, and the numbers of those in need of help grew. Some unable to separate work and life developed unhealthy stress and mental issues for the whole family. So we were all looking for ways to cope and get through it. In communication with friends and monastic overseas who were really doing it tough, it was always very grounding and put Australia in perspective. Sometimes I listened to committee members or Dharma friends driven by altruistic intentions of selfless concerns and well-being of others, as they were all trying to make a difference in some small way. In countries of complex political turmoil and rampant COVID, like Myanmar and Afghanistan, I seemed to be just trying to tame the emotional cry and offer what I could to their exacerbated anxiety. Often it required my many years of monastic practice to just be there and to listen and give something of myself to that situation. Yet other Buddhists and interfaith friends expressed the joy of this being at home during this time They seemed more spacious with less expectations placed on their lives. They engaged in morning meditation online, group rituals and teachings, with an abundance of such available to us all. Many of us even embraced the opportunity ourselves in lockdown to engage in offering teachings and giving retreats, and in other ways just to connect with the like-minded. And like myself, many enjoyed the quieter life. Yet too I wondered, without some direct engagement with others in community, as real life situations offer, how can we develop altruism and empathetic compassion, and not just read and talk about it online? It is so easy to be confused by real acts of kindness and care and those we read and hear about. Empathy is a natural response to feeling others' pain and requires somewhat a resonance with those we're caring for to motivate a natural response of unconditional, selfless love and action. If altruism and empathetic urges, however, are not rooted in compassion, and if they bypass self-care, they may exacerbate the problem as well, so as to avoid avoidance of a lack of empathetic feelings can develop. These days, many caregivers work alongside others in very difficult shifts, and much of it is due to the lack of staff. We rarely reflect on how difficult it is for a nurse, a doctor, or those working in aged care and other health services to adorn a full-body PP that requires others to zip them up. Caregivers undergoing regular routines and protocol changes to keep their workplace safe. A nurse I know spoke of how guilt and shame became her emotional driver to keep her going in her position as a senior practitioner, to the detriment of her personal well-being and to others. The stresses of extra necessary and responsibilities to protect the employees tipped the scale. Sadly, like her, many have left such hard-earned professions in this last couple of years. Others, I hear, are now living in fear of what they may face as society has now opened up. Growing self-care through cultivation of wisdom and compassion does require patience, along with selfless joy and other good qualities. Contemplation and meditation practice on deities such as Teshvara or Tara, or Kwanzaa as we call her, where visualizations and mantras empower clarity and inner strength. They enable this joy and inspiring with wiser and more compassionate considerations in caregiving. As we now have opportunities to travel and to enjoy our favourite hangouts with those we love, and with our newfound freedom of socializing, we too need to be mindful of our responsibility and just how integral we are in the lives of others. Many didn't take lockdown seriously or get vaccinated, and some became very sick, adding to the carers' burdens. Or they may have even lost someone close to them due to their ignorance and not caring enough, for both themselves and for others. Yet, like us all, our personal neediness at times can impact our actions, and they will have causal effects. Though we feel limited at times by the demands on us, simply being responsible for our own actions is life-affirming and caregiving. We have learned from our long COVID retreat, it's important to continue to nurture our well-being and share that strength with those around us. They all reflect in some part our story, and they too can benefit from our kindness and care. Thus, the Buddha emphasized the development of equanimity and patience that are grounded in social, ethical, and moral commitment as a foundation to develop the stillness and stability of mind for meditation. It is there in this light that wisdom grows. So by gaining inner strength, our sympathetic and empathetic heart naturally responds generously, and to altruism can serve in good measure. I often reflect on this parable of Buddha. Whatever a monk keeps pursuing in his thinking and pondering, that becomes the inclination of his awareness. And may I add, actions too. So whatever it is we constantly reflect on, or desire, or worry about, this too becomes an inclination that will form our awareness and our future actions. So may they be caring, may they be kind, and may they bring you much peace. Thank you. May you enjoy the rest of the Spring Festival and the many presentations that people are offering for you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rosie and I will be leading the prayers today. Before I start, I'd like to say thank you very much to our 3 guest speakers who have given up their time to talk at the blessing ceremony today, so thank you very much. The first prayer we will be reciting is a great prayer for world peace, compiled by the founder of the Tibetan Buddhist Society, the Venerable Geshe Acharya Thupten Lodin. Please join me to recite this prayer. May all living beings be adorned with love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. May they possess generosity, ethics, patience, effort, concentration, and wisdom. Thus, by the virtue collected through all that I have done, may the pain of every living being be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. May a rain of food and drink descend to clear away the pain of thirst and hunger, and during the eon of famine, may I myself change into food and drink. May I become an inexhaustible treasure for those who are poor and destitute. May I turn into all things they could need, and may these be placed close beside them. Without any sense of loss, I shall give up my body and enjoyments, as well as all my virtues of the 3 times, for the sake of benefiting all. May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travellers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship for all who wish to cross the water. May I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. May I be a bed for all who wish to rest, and a slave for all who want a slave. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. May the blind see forms, may the deaf hear sounds, and just as a rainbow arises naturally from space, may pregnant women give birth without pain. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food, may the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, the weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find new hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their illness, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. May all sentient beings have all the stainless powers, freedom from all conditions of non-leisure, freedom of action, and good livelihood. May embodied beings have a good complexion, good physique, great beauty, a pleasant appearance, freedom from disease, power, and long life. May I always be an object of enjoyment for all sentient beings according to their wish, and without interference, as are the earth, water, fire, wind, medicine, and forests. May I be as dear to sentient beings as their own life, and may they be very dear to me. May the negativities ripen for me and all my virtues for them. May I give profit and victory to others and take loss and defeat from myself. May I abandon selfishly cherishing myself and continuously practice cherishing others. As long as any sentient being anywhere has not been liberated, may I remain in the world for their sake, even though I have attained enlightenment. May all worldly beings never experience war, fighting or conflict, and forever remain without bad conditions such as earthquakes, disease or drought. May peace pervade the hearts of all, that they ever abide in joy and abundance. By the merits I have accumulated, may every living being abandon all forms of evil and continuously engage in virtue. I'm now going to lead a short contemplation on the Buddhist practice of great compassion. And this is going to be centred around the recent suffering of all beings with the COVID pandemic. We start with the thought, may all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And then we think, in particular, my great compassionate wish is that the COVID pandemic is over very quickly and the pain and suffering associated with the pandemic, COVID illness itself, all the many fears associated with the pandemic, all the associated loss, the associated discord in communities and among friends and families. May all this finish very quickly. And then we think, I will do my best to support both myself and others during this difficult time of the pandemic. And may I help to ease the suffering of beings as much as possible. Now we recite the prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Tibetan and English. Kang ri ra we ko we jin kang dia ken dang de wa ma lu zhong we ne chen we si guang ten zing ya so yi ja pe si te ba du tang yu chik. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and benefit. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until cyclic existence is ended. And now we finish with the general dedication prayers. Kewadi ye kebo kun so nam ye she so shi so nam ye she le jung wei dam pa ku ni to ba shou. By this virtue, may all beings complete the collections of wisdom and merit and attain the two holy bodies arisen from wisdom and merit. Chancho Sem Cho Grin Po She Ma Ke Pa Nam Ke Gyo Chi Ke me pa ye gong ne gong du el pa shok. May the precious superior mind of enlightenment be generated in those who have not yet generated it, and not decrease in those who have developed it, but increase continuously. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us for the blessing ceremony today. And just like to remind you that following the blessing ceremony at 12:15, we have a half-hour guided temple tour of our beautiful Tibetan temple, followed by a 1 p.m. feature talk and a 2 p.m. guided meditation and talk. And these talks and meditations are centred around the festival theme, which is caring for self and caring for others. And those with children may like to visit the children's space where there are children's meditation and activities. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Best wishes for all, and let's hope the year ahead is a lot easier. Bye.